Hello everybody, welcome to another fantastic episode of Distilled, Brewed, and Reviewed. My name is John. I'm in my world famous sipping den. And if you're new here, and even if you're not, you're never going to get tired of hearing this. I review everything that has anything to do with alcohol. Yeah, and I have a famous Sunday morning coffee review. I like to have everything for us big boys and girls right here. This is a one-stop shop, right? You don't have to go anywhere else. If you want anything to do with alcohol and or coffee, why would you? You're home. Since you're home, I need you to sub, okay? You got to sub to your home. Of course you do. Now, you say, it's going to get confusing. How am I going to find all the stuff that you review? What if I'm interested in a certain type of wine or a certain type of beer? Well, I've got that all figured out. I have the most up-to-date, categorized, subcategorized, easy to navigate playlist on YouTube, and I dare you to check it out, and I challenge you to do it. Everything broken down. You're going to get lost in the beauty of this list, in the imagination, and you'll be there forever, but it'll be beautiful. You'll be learning and having a ball with this playlist. Attached to every video, yeah, or the first comment I pin, because attached to that comment is a link to whatever I'm reviewing. In this case, it's going to be bourbon, and I do some damn good bourbons. I do good everything, but we're talking about bourbon right now. And today we're going to do Pinhook. The name of this, Pinhook Bohemian High Proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Look at it. Now, right off the bat, it pops at the shelf. I'm going to tell you why, if you don't already see why. The pink color, the pinkish purple, kind of pops, right? It pops. What's going on with this? Should be a lot of interest in this, because we'll get into this in a second. So what's the front say? High proof bourbon, I told you the name. 59.97% alcohol by volume, 119.9 proof. We're going to call it 120. Horse name, the horse's name that they have featured on here, it's a filly. And her name is Bourbon Heist. Of course it is. 16 hands. It says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, so that means it's got to be made in Kentucky. It's got to be aged at least a year in Kentucky. It's got to be at least 2 years old, and if it is less than 4 years old, it must have an age statement. Every year, Pinhook releases new bourbons and ryes that showcase the best attributes of our barrels. After meticulous barrel selection and blending, we find the perfect proof for each expression, giving the vintage a character and as unique as the thoroughbred on the label. Now, so every time they do a new bourbon, they take all different barrels and blend it, so the taste is always going to be different. They're not trying for consistency. They're just trying for a good bourbon every time they make it, however different it is. The unique thing about this is, also you can get an app. This is an interactive label, so I guess the horse probably runs, I'm not sure, but you can download the app, interactive label. They had been sourcing from MGP, but you know who makes this? Castle Key. Interesting. Now, so when I met the master distiller from Castle Key, I asked him about this because they were doing their first release of Castle Key, right? I have it back here. I did a video on it. I'm also going to do one with this versus the Castle Key. All right. This is distilled by Castle Key. They picked out their own mash bill, a standard mash bill, right? 75% corn, 10% or 15% rye, 10% malted barley. It is aged, and it says on here, remember I told you if it's less than 4 years, it has to have an age statement. If it doesn't have an age statement, we know it's at least 4 years old. Well, this does have an age statement. Aged more than 3 years. As a matter of fact, it is aged for 34 months. 3 years is 36 months, so it's aged more than 34, right? It's obviously aged more than 36. But less than 48 months, less than 4 years. Well, anyway, when I asked the master distiller, I said, hey, you all been making this for a while. You know, you're all saying this is your first, because they're sourced, you know, somebody's sourcing this from Castle Key, okay? CJS Bourbon Corporation is, under the name of Pinhook sourcing the whiskey now from Castle Key. Castle Key has recently put theirs out. What's the difference? He said one's made with white corn, one's made with yellow corn. Castle Key is the white corn, this is the yellow corn. It also has a different mash bill. Also, the Castle Key is 4 years as opposed to over 3 years. This is a combination of 100 barrels that have been blended and proofed by the master taster and co-founder of Pinhook, Sean Phillips. That's all I'm going to say. Now we taste. Oh, what do you mean that's all I'm going to say? How do I? Who let me use it? Who's lending this to the channel? Who is lending this bottle to the channel? Jeff! The man has lent more whiskey and bourbon to this channel, and I give him a shout out because he lends me unbelievable bourbons. He has a massive collection. He has a massive collection in his head from all the tasting he's done over the years. He's in the industry. He's been in the industry for years. He has met many master distillers. He can go. I learned so much from that guy. In casual conversation, I don't even ask him anything. I just start talking, and we start talking, and I'm picking up stuff. I don't need to ask him anything. It's enough for me to get what and I've been in the industry for a long, long time. But that guy, Jeff, we love you at this channel, man. It's amazing. I met him at work, and now we're great friends. And of course, he loves the channel, and so see, if he loves the channel, you should love the channel. And of course, he's subscribed, and you should be subscribed. Let's do some Pinhook. I don't usually, describe the color because you can see it. You can see the color. There it is. There's the color, right? You see it? There it is. I will describe the smell. It smells like bourbon, tastes like bourbon. See you on the next one. If I didn't know this was a little young, and under 4 years is young, a lot of people think 4 years is young. One way I can always tell, and I think that you can always tell, if a bourbon is young. Now, you have to get some aged ones to see what I'm talking about. But the younger ones, and if you do side by sides, and you'll see what I'm talking about, really has just a grainy corn, dusty corn smell, and a lack of the depth that an aged one will have coming out of that wood. There's a difference. There's a difference in thickness in the nose. It's hard to describe, but it's easy to detect. You won't get as much grainy, corny cereal out of an aged one. You'll start getting the beauty of what that barrel's bringing out over the years. That vanilla and that sweetness and that just the roundness that wood imparts. I'm telling you, you'll be able to detect it. You will. Anyway, so I'm detecting the grainy, cereally, dusty corn. A lot of people describe that. I'd like to come up with a better term, but that kind of fits pretty well. Cereal. Corn-heavy cereal. And it's just so. But also, a sweetness, right? A typical sweetness underneath that comes from almost all bourbons. In my head, I can't really describe as much as gone through there as far as the youngness and the lack of the molasses and the different sweet. It's just different. But we're going to talk about this. But I'm trying to describe it, trying to maybe teach you how to recognize a younger whiskey. It's really not that hard at all. But and sometimes you could be fooled, of course. But it smells young, and you may love the smell of a young. See, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just personal preference, right? It's just different. But I'm still bourbon, right? Still just that's the smell predominantly. Let's give it a taste. I'm gonna give it an acclimation sip, and then the second one will go in for the actual tasting. All right. All right, now my mouth is acclimated. Okay, now I'm going to be able to detect the flavors better than if I had not taken that sip. Cheers, my wonderful friends. Pinhook. Almost chewing the whiskey, coating my entire mouth and tongue. The whiskey has the taste of the cereal, the grain, the dusty corn, the newness, the youngness. It is followed by some sweetness. It is okay, and I'm trying to look. Truth matters, I am in the business, and I've been for a while, and I have tasted just a lot of bourbon. So I want to compare us to what it is, right? Not something else that I might have. But I have a reference, obviously. I'm going to describe, which may not, if you haven't drank a ton of whiskeys, may not get this right off the bat, but it just doesn't have, I don't want to use terms that, are ridiculous, but it doesn't have a depth to it. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I mean, it just doesn't have, like, I'm not going to pick up things for the next hour. I'm not going to be able to dig into a deep well of flavors that can only come from really sitting in a barrel for a long time. It's one-dimensional, but that don't mean it's bad. It could be delicious one-dimensional. It's just not something that I'm gonna sit here for the next hour picking stuff out after I turn off, like sometimes I do, and go, oh, I wish I still had the video on. I'm picking up some new stuff. So it's a and 114 proof, by the way. Oh hell, 119 point, 120. Doesn't drink like it. I'll give it that. Now it doesn't burn. It's not like, oh my God, 120. You didn't see me making any faces. I forgot it was 120. Seems to have gotten sweeter. It's got a nice sweetness to it. And now in this sip, it was more sweet dominant over the grain. So a nice sweetness to it. A nice little sweetness, a nice corny, grainy cereal, which isn't a bad thing. Definitely could pick up the wood in there. See if I get any fruit out of it. A lot of times I could pick up fruit. I'm going to concentrate on the fruit now. I'm going to have to concentrate so it's not screaming at me because I didn't say anything. Now I'm going to actually look for it. I could see where someone would say apple / citrus. I think those are two things that a lot of people are confined in this. Other from that, I'm really not getting anything else, but it's certainly not a any means a bad bourbon. It's about $50. You're getting your money's worth in the proof. I'll give you that. Oh, I don't have a lot in here. I got to just put a little tiny bit of water because I'll put a little water, but all right, yeah, that's good. All right, just a little bit and see what it does. I feel like it's brought out a nuttiness. Now it's got a little nuttiness that it didn't have. So let's give it a last little bit. Kind of a like those German almonds, I think they're called, where it's got like a sweetness or like the nuts or almonds or whatever, like a hard candy toffee to it. A lot of times the water will bring out a little bit of sweetness for me, bring out a nuttiness and sweetness, kind of like the candied nuts. So that is basically what I'm going to say about Pinhook. It isn't mine, it's Jeff's, or I would certainly finish this bottle. You know what I mean? Right now, over time. So is it worth? I think a lot of people like it, and I can see why. So it's out there. It's a $50 bottle. It fights with a lot of them. It's no better than a lot of them. It's certainly no worse. I'll leave it there. Jeff, thank you. Thank you all for subbing. Let's compare this bad boy with the Castle Key. I don't think there's much comparison as far as there's a big difference of what's going on. I'll tell you here in a second. See you on the next video, everybody. Thank you.